Well, the other big story has been the shunting of Home Secretary L.C. Goyal, in fact, who was transferred out yesterday. This is the second Home Secretary to have been moved out of this position this year. It comes after the rather controversial removal as well of Sujata Singh as Foreign Secretary. Sourcing saying that the government was unhappy with L.C. Goyal for many reasons, including over the Naga Accord. Well, what's the politics behind it? What more is happening behind the scenes? My colleague Sudhir Ranjan Sen joining us now for more on that story. Sudhi, any more clarity on just why this happened?
Well, I mean, there is no clarity in the sense because the government has been silent and so has been Mr. L.C. Goyal. We are not getting to hear from either of the two main parties. But from the way the appointment has happened, it is very, very clear that Mr. Goyal had been asked to go, and he put in his papers, and then subsequently has been rehabilitated as chairman of the Indian Trade Promotion Council. On the other hand, you have Mr. Mehrishi taking over, a very senior bureaucrat. And also, the fact that he had been brought over from Rajasthan, he's a Rajasthan cadre officer, he's been brought over, brought to the centre by this very government very early on with a very specific design in mind. In fact, he was supposed to be the cabinet secretary. That didn't happen. And on the very last day, as he was retiring, he was appointed as the Union Home Secretary. Mind you, the Union Home Secretary, like the Foreign Secretary and the Defence Secretary, has a 2-year tenure. And the very fact the way it was done is raising too many questions. Nidhi.
All right, Sudhi, thanks a lot for that. So those questions continue to remain, and Arun Bhatia, former IAS officer and ex-municipal commissioner, is also joining us on the program tonight on this. Mr. Bhatia, your first thoughts, on this. It's not just about L.C. Goyal, it's about Sujata Singh, it's about Anil Goswami, now L.C. Goyal. Do you see a pattern here in the way in which the government is dealing with top bureaucrats?
I think, ma'am, the first thing we have to acknowledge and accept about India is that the bureaucracy has been completely taken over by the politicians. Completely. Transfers, postings, assessment reports, promotions, departmental inquiries, everything is in the hands of the politicians. That's not how it was designed to be, but that's happened for whatever reasons. Number one. Number two, this shuffling of people and transferring senior people at their women fancy has been going on for a long time. Now, because of the electronic media, awareness amongst the middle class and all the rest of it, these things are surfacing and people are asking questions. Otherwise, it's been going on for a very long time. And there is good and there is bad in this. The bad part is that they want their own man there, who will bend the rules for them, or listen to them, do the wrong thing. So as soon as they come, they want to do this. They can't do it in a hurry, so they wait. They bide by their time. And almost every bureaucrat has a godfather. My baap hai sabke. You spend 20, 25 years in service before you become a secretary's rank officer in the center, cabinet secretary or something. You have actually come across a lot of cross-section of politicians. You are thick with some people. You have seen corruption. You partnered corruption with some people. But this will never come on the surface. These are all hidden linkages. And you suddenly see a reshuffle and you find, oh, this new chap has come here. He's not a new chap. There is some linkage somewhere.
Yeah, but what's interesting here is that, for instance, L.C. Goyal was, just appointed earlier this year, and it's meant to be a 2-year tenure. And G.V. Rao, one of the things that we're seeing former bureaucrats, other former bureaucrats say, for example, the former cabinet secretary, Mr. K.M. Chandrasekhar, told the Economic Times today that the message to officers is there's no security, you can be changed at any moment, and that this will create a lot of uncertainty and would be unnerving for officers at the center. What's the point of a 2-year tenure if this is what happens? And this is a former cabinet secretary making this statement, Mr. Rao.
Yeah, but when this guy was cabinet secretary, what did he do about? Sorry.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Bhatia, on that. I will, Mr. Rao.
Okay.
Yeah, what Mr. Bhatia said just now applies to politicians, possibly in general, that he may have seen. But I can say Mr. Modi, as Chief Minister of Gujarat for 12 years, I'm sure that is something to go by. He had always believed in stability of tenure. It always never interfered in any department's functioning. And every secretary and every department had a certain vision to be and certain deliveries to be made, and he gave complete freedom to the officers. So the couple of transfers that we are talking about, I think yesterday's transfer, the media is only speculating. neither you have all the facts nor I have them, but certainly I think for the government and possibly even the bureaucracy is also getting to know the Prime Minister and his style of working, and possibly they are used to UPA's ways of working for a long time, and possibly that could be this could be an adjustment period. But certainly Mr. Modi's hallmark is to have long tenures, stable tenures for officers, and to measure them on their performance and give them a long rope. I think that's been his style of functioning in Gujarat, and I have no reason to believe it would be different in Delhi.
So why were two Home Secretaries moved out in the span of less than a year? Mr. Rao.
I think we are talking, you see, the transfer of Mr. Goswami, I think the background was known to all of you. So certainly I think that cannot be compared with the transfer that was effected yesterday. And as far as yesterday's transfer is concerned, I'm not in a position to give you any details or discuss it, because certainly this seems to have been a request on the part of Mr. Goyal himself. That's what I think, that's the official information that I have. So
well,
I can't really speculate. I don't have the freedom to speculate.
Yes, you're right. He did voluntarily retire, which was unusual and very sudden. But the other interesting thing, before I get the Congress into this, Bharat Bhushan, is that it was the Prime Minister's office that issued a statement about LC Goyal. And normally you have the appointments committee of the cabinet that would get into something like this. This seems to have come from top down.
He must have upset the Prime Minister's office. And if the speculation is that he was kept out of the Naga framework agreement, that also must be right. And here I might take this position that actually it was a good thing that they kept the Home Ministry out of the Naga framework agreement, because with the Home Ministry present, I can lay a bet, having followed the Naga case since 1997, this agreement would never have taken place, because there are enough mischief makers in Home Ministry who inform the Manipur Chief Minister before a decision is taken, who create problems in the Northeast and don't let any settlement happen. If indeed it is a Naga case, they did the right thing by keeping the Home Secretary out of it. Later on, perhaps they should have informed him. However, having said that, the bureaucracy is meant to serve elected executive. If the executive is not happy with a certain officer, they have every right to change that officer. Yes, 2-year tenure is to give a certain amount of certainty, but if you are unhappy with an officer, the executive must have the right to change that officer. What it does to the bureaucracy is right, as a former cabinet secretary has said, that it creates uncertainty. It will end up creating a loyal and a politicized bureaucracy, and then you will create confusion in the upper echelons of bureaucracy, whether they should be loyal or whether merit matters. Would people give their independent opinion to their political masters, or would they start sucking up to them? That is a question that we need to ponder over.
But at the end of the day, as you said, it is Tom Varakan, it is the executive's prerogative then to deal with the bureaucracy and to choose who they want in a particular position. So the Congress though has been quick to say that he was forced to seek voluntary retirement, that they're discarding and dispensing with processes and showing disrespect to senior civil servants. I could remind you about what Rajiv Gandhi did to the former foreign secretary.
I'll explain that too. Mr. Rao here mentioned that the hallmark of Mr. Modi is that of stability. Now, I must remind Mr. Rao that there have been 550 transfer postings in a span of 1 year. Now, indeed, this is only factual. I mean, 550, and these are secretaries, joint secretaries, additional secretaries. Now, Mr. Rao, I think you need to explain that out. What has happened between Gujarat and Delhi? Now, be what it may, Mr. Goyal lost his job, has been changed, a fixed tenure makes no sense. You raised the question of the foreign secretary being sacked by Rajiv ji. Now, let me bring that into attention first, because that is one thing Mr. Rao is also going to raise. So, let me counter that first. A, there was no fixed tenure at that point of time. B, he said something which was against the cabinet decision. This is perhaps the first time that a Congress Prime Minister had to act promptly. He said, you will speak to the next foreign secretary. The reason was there was a cabinet decision on which he went, which he said something which was beyond his brief. That has happened.
That's part of
that's part
about the Home Secretary about
that's
LC
part of
Goyal
history.
too.
But here this issue about Mr. Goyal and asking him to go out and then the day of retirement, believe me, the day of the retirement, everybody is given off, and then suddenly this new Home Secretary, competent men. I am not questioning their competence or incompetence, but the way you go about it. Home Secretary is sacked at the drop of a hat, and for what? Naga Accord, my friend here mentioned that if it was a Naga Accord, the Chief Minister of Nagaland doesn't know what this accord is about. Home Minister does not know. RTI report from Prime Minister's offices, nobody has a clue in PMO. Now pray, what is this accord? And if somebody did ask, that's no reason to sack him. You could internally handle it. There's another story of another transfer that has happened right today of an officer close to Rajnath Singh. I'm not going into it. I need confirmed information. You don't create caste in the bureaucracy. This is the steel rim of India. If you create a casteist, I'm sorry, I'm using the caste word very carefully. You are either with us or you are against